workforce transformation, and that's about increasing customers' efficiency, productivity, and also future readiness with the right solutions. Also, he is a district director at Toastmasters International. So if you're not sure about what Toastmasters is, it's a place where people come and learn about public speaking. Yeah, he's a district director there, so he is pretty into public speaking, and he's also a professional and motivational speaker. So our next presenter is going to be Raymond Koh, and he is a business development manager at Dell Technologies, and he specializes in surveillance and computer vision technologies. He has more than 9 years in the surveillance industry. Our third presenter today is Dr. Sean Kwan. He's a medical doctor that specializes in lifestyle medicine, and he's a fellow at several different medicine boards. And he's really passionate about helping people and also in health, and he's active in humanitarian work, disaster relief, and has been to multiple humanitarian relief expeditions in different countries such as Laos, Nepal, Papua New Guinea. Also, he is a CEO of a health tech startup called Saver of Life, which he will share more about that with us later.
Screen, very good morning to everyone, and I'll take this opportunity to thank SRKK for organizing this and inviting us to share on what we are doing right now as Dell Technologies. Now, first of all, is like all of us here are right now going through a new life, a new way of how we live our life and how we work. And just to rewind back a few months back is that we were going into a very interesting scenario where I do not want to talk about other companies, but just want to talk about the company that I work for and how we actually do things. Now, we already went through the few months back, and next thing you know is that my IT and all of us are required to work from home. And suddenly 90% of, 90% I would say, of the employees have to work from everywhere, from their home, from their home office and stuff like that, right? And that's where we look into how can we shift 120,000 employees across the world from office to home. That was the challenge that was given to our CIOs and everyone, including the sales team and everybody. So we look into it as what can we do? Now, I believe all of you are going through this as well, or still going through this. There are a lot of things we can talk about. So in a very nutshell is that I look at it into three ways. First of all is the physical. Second is the culture. And third is the technology. So always, a lot of people come to you and say, you got to buy a notebook. But do you mean that buying a notebook can enable you to work from home the next day? No, because you still got to access back to your data and stuff like that. So let's talk about real life, what we went through, okay? So we talk about physical. I'm very sure all of us are right now working from home, somewhere or other. And the first thing you're like, okay, which part of my house can I turn into a home office? Some of you work under the stairs, because that's where normally under the stairs you clean up a bit of your store, and then that's turned into your store and into your working desk. Some of you are working go to a corner, put up a table. Some of you may even open up a mahjong table and work. Husband one side, wife one side, and the kid one side. Two kids on two sides. So it's like 4 of you playing mahjong every day. And moving on is like you have difficulties in finding a way or place at home that you can actually use as an office, right? Next thing is talk about Wi-Fi. Is your Wi-Fi strong enough? All right, and a lot of things, okay? And then you even talk about human. Human is like suddenly your boss is like, instead of managing you from the office, right now the boss is managing you from remote places, from his house and so on and so forth. So I believe some of you may also receive every morning, you may receive a 9 o'clock where you get a WhatsApp or you get a WhatsApp, ding, 9 o'clock. And the message you open up is actually from your boss. And the message says something like, good morning, smiley face. Well, the thing is that there's actually a hidden intention. The good morning smiley face wasn't there when you were working face-to-face in the office. It only happens when it comes to remote. That is just to check whether are you awake, number one. Number two, are you already working? So the way we manage people are also very different right now. And I believe some of you may be laughing right now that you are actually doing that to your staff. or you are the staff and your boss is doing it on you. Next thing you know is that halfway working, if you're using Skype, you have these three status, right? Green light, yellow light, and red light. So if your boss sees that it's green light, means you're always available. Good. If your red light means you're something having a meeting or in a Zoom call and so on and so forth. But if you're on a yellow light, amber, your boss will see, wow, how long? Because in Skype, it will tell you away for how long. So if that away for half an hour, he will ding you, hey, you there? So the thing is, this is what we have moved our managers into something called micromanaging. So the culture of managing is also very different. And lastly, about technology. So of course, yes, to enable a person to really work from home properly, you need to have proper technologies, right? For example, do you have the right notebook? Do you have the right desktop? Do you have the right headset? Do you have the right mouse and things like that? Because back in our office, even a chair that we are sitting is ergonomics. But the one that you're sitting on right now, it's a bangku or a stool, which is not even ergonomics. After sitting there for half an hour, you feel that your back is starting to ache, your shoulders start to ache. So this actually put us into later, Dr. Sean, we can talk about, how it actually impact our body if you're not sitting on an ergonomics chair, right? So now you know how much your company loves you by investing in chairs for you, right? And also height adjustable tables and stuff like that. Not everybody have the luxury of having that. Okay, so this is three things that we Dell Technologies look at when we want to move our 120,000 employees there. So next thing is that, of course, IT will look at how can I move office, people working in office, and still link back to the company for what? For data. Because if you can't reach your data, you can't work. You can't go back to business as usual. You can't generate quotation. You can't generate invoice. You can't generate DO. You can't generate report. You can't generate your payment. You can't generate all this. So again, it's all about data, how you link back. And to link back, of course, then we look into three areas, right? How you work, where you work, the workforce, how is it connected, right? So this is how Dell Technologies look at as our problem statement. And we started to see how can we solve all this. And I believe when I talk about this, you are right now looking at, my company have this problem, and that problem. Yes, you are already looking at that. Good. Keep it as a Q&A, because later on the SRKK team will come in and help you out on how to solve all this problem. Okay? Next. This is how it works, right? Now, you may think that you're all working from home and the office is right now empty, right? Or the office is empty during MCO. But do you know that we still need to keep the office clean? Facilities still have to go back and clean. If not, all the mouse and cockroaches were having a party in the office, right? And some of you may even see some viral or pictures going around that your jacket at the office is growing fungus. Well, exactly. So this is why the facility needs to continue to make sure that the aircon system is clean, everything is clean. So there are still people working. It doesn't mean the office is shut down totally empty, right? Now, this is what it is. As building managers, they still have to do their job. That is on facilities, right? But in Dell IT, we will look into how can we make sure that you can connect back to the data in the office and yet very secure. So that's where Dell look into like all these services, or how to optimize the production and how to make sure that we still have business as usual. And this is where we look at something called Workspace ONE. Now, if you're the first time hearing this Workspace ONE, well, this is something that we have in a part of our Dell Technology solution. It's under VMware. And again, if you heard of VMware, then of course, VMware is actually part of Dell Technologies, because there was an acquisition and then we are right now part of it. So that's why Dell is a logo, or is a company, right? Dell logo with the circle is a company. Together with Dell EMC, VMware, RSA, Virtual Stream, all of us, 7 of us mixed up, we become Dell Technologies. So now Dell Technologies is a bigger family. So this is all our whole entire portfolio right now. If you look at the green color bar, with a green color bar, we can actually connect up the whole entire way of how we work, how the 120,000 employees continue to work. And today, we have implemented a lot of programs to make sure that we can still get connected through Zoom, Skype, and of course, our Zoom is always, we actually use Zoom because after we do a lot of testing, so it's in a way that we can still make it secure. I know you have read a lot of things in Google and stuff like that, but let's put it aside. That's a bit of politics as well. But when it comes to technology, we still do that, okay? Now, Workspace ONE enables us to do one important thing. During the 3 months of the MCO, honestly speaking, right, we still hire people. And the people doesn't need to come to office to collect that notebook. We send a notebook to them and they power up the notebook. The notebook comes up, they will have to enter their username and the password. Once they enter and they connect to the Wi-Fi, guess what? The notebook itself becomes a Dell image. And if let's say that first person, the new hire person is from finance, he or she will go into the Workspace ONE's catalog and download all the finance related apps. It's automatic downloaded. So in other words, is that the setup is already done automatically by Workspace ONE. So that is what we call day one productivity. So now, what this means is that we can reduce a lot of all this, IT, we can't send system to IT, do image and everything. So this is what we are doing. We are doing everything at the factory and we send to the customer directly. Okay, so that is on the productivity and that's how we connect back to database. Now you may have a question, how to make it secure? Because 80% of virus attack is at the endpoint, which is our house, how we link, right? So yes, Dell quickly launched something called the RSA token. So like, for example, my phone, I have a RSA token. So if I show you, this is my RSA token, right, on my phone. Now, we quickly launched this and we send, imagine 120,000 employees across the world. We implement this in just 2 weeks' time. Everybody gets this token, everybody gets this, and wow, we are back to secure VPN. So to connect back to our server, you need to go through VPN. However, but there are other applications we do not need to go through VPN. For example, because we're using O365, so we can just go back to it without going through VPN. So there are a few things that we do not need to use. And because of Workspace ONE, we can actually use single sign-on. So that means you only enter one-time password. You can link to the rest of it is auto sign-on. So you can auto sign-on to your HR portal, you have auto sign to your finance portal, all the other portals that you need in the internal VPN is single sign-on. So you don't have to key in password because I hate passwords, seriously, crazy, right? What is very important is that we support our softwares right now as software-defined wide area network. It's called SD-WAN, right? So all of you may know here and there. If you do not know, you can ask later on. SRKK team is very well aware about this as well. So to keep all the software, so right now you have employees across the whole nationwide in Malaysia, a lot of branches, right? So employees everywhere, but they want to download certain things from the server. Traditionally, they have to go through the VPN and everything, right? But with SD-WAN, you can directly go through. So the traditional way is that it goes through the database, this database goes through to you, right? But now you can go direct to you. That's the benefit of SD-WAN, okay? So the next snapshot is the Workspace ONE doesn't even only support Windows-based. It can support your Android, it can support your Apple, it can support non-Windows based as well. So if you have, let's say right now I want to have my Outlook here, I can just download Outlook and I just connect using Workspace ONE. I can read my emails from here. So Apple, iOS, no problem. Okay, tablet, everything okay. So this is one thing that it is. Now, SCCM, for example, is only supporting Windows, right? But this supports everything. So this is one of it. Last but not least is how we actually connect using Zoom. So Zoom, we prefer Zoom because in one screen, we can see up to 25 people. And depending on your configuration, if your graphic card can actually, a very high-end graphic card, you can actually see up to 40 people and you can do the setting in the settings. Okay, so this is how we connect. Now, Dell is one company that we do not really like the traditional way. When a new employee comes in, we give them a notebook. And normally the notebook is a recycled notebook, right? Recycled notebook, new employee, right? Normal happens, okay? I get my first notebook that was given to me is like a 2-year-old where my boss applied for a new one, he keep, and then his one, he give it to me, right? So that is happening at every company. But today, it's very different. We have Generation Z joining us, right? Generation Z are people who take pictures first before they eat, and the people who things very differently, who plays games all the time, who are very impatient, who wants a promotion all the time, who wants to complete a project and things like that. So those are Gen Z, right? So as they come in, they want to see that they are given the right technology so that they can perform. Because they will blame technology if let's say they can't perform. That is the type of Gen Z of people. Now, we understand how these people work. For example, let's say a sales team. For a sales team in your company, what they are supposed to be running around outside. If you give them a notebook that is 1.6 kg or 1.7 kg, which is the Peng Lang Chang, or what you call cheap entry level but heavy, right? 1.6 km, 1.6 kg, sorry, not km, kg. It's heavy. You expect the salesperson to carry that notebook everywhere? No. So in Dell, we actually design our notebook we design a notebook that is even suitable to every single user. Let's take, for example, if you're sales, if I give you a 1.2 kg notebook, is that good enough? Yeah, that's perfect. Because 1.2 kg we're talking about is the most premium notebook, like XPS 13, 1.2 kg. But if I tell you that I have a notebook that is 1.2 kg, right? Yeah, it's 256 SSD, fast enough for you to boot in and boot out. And then 8 GB with i5, and it costs you less than 4,000 ringgit. Because the XPS will cost you 9,000 ringgit. But this is half of the XPS. Are you interested? Of course. This is a good investment. Why? Because your sales team is happy, user experience is good, he can travel faster, more easy, and it's light for him to log in and send out quotation. Two, you save costs as a manager, because instead of buying SPS for yourself, rather, right? No, you go and buy SPS for your sales team. All right, so now you can buy 2 notebooks for your sales team with a budget of XPS 13 and a 1.2 kg. So that is how Dell do business. That's how Dell design the laptop. And this is where I come from, designing notebooks. And that's why I can share with you that we actually look into types of users. So by having understanding the types of users and what they need and whatnot, we design the notebook that is specified to certain persona. And that's why when you reach out to us or SRKK, we will ask you, what do you use for? Who is using? Then we recommend you the right notebook. So this is the 8 types of people, 8 types of users. You may belong to 1 or 2 category. That is normal. Okay, so to know more, look for us, because we believe in one thing: the right product for the right user. Okay, so in 2020 onwards, we are designing our Latitude in a really more interesting way. We want a notebook to be more intelligent in a way like when you buy a car, the car can learn about the user or the driver after 1 month. You see, when you buy a Subaru, for example, or you buy a Kia, a Kia GT, for example, a Kia Rio or Kia Forte, or you buy a Toyota Camry. Now, all these cars come with ECU. It's a electronic chip, right? Right. So this ECU actually learn about the driver. Is the driver a heavy footer? Start engine heavy foot, heavy foot, or a driver that start the engine light foot, slowly and slow. Now, these 2 car, even though it's Camry, because of different profile user, the car actually acts different way and drives differently as well. So if you go into these 2 car, the one with a heavy footed, you step a bit, it will give you power. But if you go into the other car that is light footed, you step, the power doesn't come on the car. The power comes very smooth. It's not like a very jerking type. It's because the ECU study the user. Same thing. Our Latitude 2020 onwards is studying the user. What is the first program you open every day? What is the first software you open every day? The moment you turn on your notebook, right? Of course, the application won't open by itself. That one, maybe 2030. Give me some time. I might work on that. But 2020, at least he knows that you're about to click the Outlook button. The moment you click, right, he will automatically change all the resources to go and open the Outlook faster. Then he knows that second thing you open is Excel file. He will help you to go and open the Excel file faster. But he needs you to click first. Without clicking, it won't come out. Right? This is not an exhaust list. It's not like a ghost type. Right? We haven't reached there yet. Haven't reached there yet. But soon. Next thing is Express Sign In. It will let you express sign in, things like that. It gives you a faster and better experience in using Latitude. You will love your Latitude more the more you use. It's just like you love your Camry more the more you drive. That is what we're trying to do. Okay, so this is 2020 on how we do it in terms of user experience. And that's why Dell Optimizer is being installed in every Latitude. Last time, Optimizer is only installed on workstation, but now our Latitude has Optimizer. 3000 series, 5000 series, 7000 series, even the latest that we launched, also we have. Okay, I'll talk about the 9000 series in a short while. Okay, So we invest a lot on quality as well, because why? We want to make sure that your fan is fast enough to spin, all right, to cool down the temperature. Now, just the fan itself, I have one department just look at fan technology only. We're not just designing notebook for the fun of it. We design it so that the fan can spin less RPM, less, but the air it carry out is more, so it can cool down the CPU faster. Okay, so it's turning slower, but it can take out more air. That is something what we're looking at. All right. So right now we even turn the angle of the fan to be certain angle that it can take out more air. Interesting. We invest a lot on the quality. So if for those of you who have used Dell before, you know that we are like BMW. We have 3000 series, 5000 series, and 7000 series. Just like the BMW 3 series, 5 series, 7 series. All right. 3 series for entry level, 5 series for the mainstream, 7000 series for the big boss, you know, the ultra, right? Okay. Same thing. But this year onwards, we launched something new, because we also understand that BMW is going to launch something new also, right? Their 9 series is coming. So we also launched a 9000 series. So like I always say, if let's say one day Dell, I didn't work for Dell, you will find me in BMW, confirm next day I'll be working as a BMW salesman. Because why? Same series, we can sell easily. So we are launching 9000 series. All right. Already launched, we have 14-inch and 15-inch. And that one is superb. Win a lot of CES award. So with this, I just want to share with you, like in a very nutshell, one screen here, you can see that we have a 1.2 kg on even the entry level. This is all the notebook. This one is all the clamshell that can flip. And then we also have is desktop. So look for us. We'll let you more data details. I can send these slides to you in PDF, not a problem at all. And last but not least, working from home. Working from home is really painful. All of us know working from home is working from home. It's only a statement. But how to make sure that you have a proper ergonomics is very important. Now, one of my major is in ergonomics as well. So I always encourage people to have a proper headset that has noise reduction, because when you have noise reduction, you actually calm yourself better and you can listen to your conversation better. So you're lesser calm, you're more calm and you're lesser stressed. Okay, it's a bit of stress release. Make sure you're properly littered. You have a proper window. It's properly littered, so you don't work in a very dim area. This is not a nightclub. This is not a pub. It's supposed to be a proper littered way. Workflow, I hope that, depend on your preference, right to left or left to right. You can work from here, done, put here, or this way, depending on whether you're left-hander or right-hander, your preference. Make sure that in this picture, you have a double screen. So when you have a double screen, you actually see a bigger picture. You can see 2 screens at one time, increase your productivity. And last but not least, you can see that at the bottom, there are some speakers over the bottom. Those is just launched 4 days ago. We just launched 4 days ago. It's a Dell speakerphone. It's about this big. All right. It looks like the Jabra 410, but it's better than Jabra 410 because it has a HDMI port. You can use it as in case your notebook don't have your HDMI port, that speaker can connect out to a HDMI port. It's like a hub plus speaker. Please get this. Very, very interesting. Noise reduction, can listen to phone, can answer phone, can do a lot of things from there. All right. And of course, Zoom and everything is there. Okay. And lesser cable, because our Dell LCD is Type-C. So lesser cable, lesser clutter will make your desk look cleaner. So only one cable I can work, because Type-C can give you data, video, and also audio. All right. And of course, inside our Dell Latitude, we have something like its own program. Like it can have a self inform you whether which driver is outdated and all those things. Okay, so it can even help you update. And of course, this is the screenshot that I show you, that you can actually do Dell display. One screen you can split into a few screens. This one works with all Dell LCD. So for example, if you're a non-Dell laptop user, but you buy this LCD, you can download the program and you can use it. Yeah, cheers. All right, so it can even charge your notebook. That's the best part. So you have lesser one cable to your power adapter, because one of your house problem is not enough power socket. So this will help you. Okay. So when speed and trust is the winning factor, this is how we do things. We are also in Formula One. So with McLaren and Dell, we are really, really winning a lot of deals, and we're also winning a lot of trophies. So with this, I would like to thank you for your 20 minutes, and it's back to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Christopher. Let us know when you start working in BMW, yeah? We get some special deals from you. Okay, so now we'll pass the time over to Raymond. Yeah, Raymond, it's yours.
Hi,
20 minutes, and it's back to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Christopher. Let us know when you start working in BMW, yeah? We get some special deals from you. Okay, so now we'll pass the time over to Raymond. Yeah, Raymond, it's yours.
Hi, thanks, Sun Chen, and good morning to everyone. Today, I also have the pleasure to be invited by SRKK to share with you a little bit more about these human temperature screening solutions. Now, before that, I'd like to actually share a little bit more details with you in terms of how does this thermal solution actually comes into play. I think we all know to some extent thermal solution has been available since the late 1970s, and very much is actually used for military applications, whereby they are actually looking at how you use this thermal to do detections, how to find the enemies within the behind the thick walls, and probably these are some of the movies that we have seen where they actually use the thermal to look at the specific targets within that concrete building itself. Of course, that is a bit of a futuristic, but then again, there are actually a lot of early application that actually started to use thermal in that sense, and you actually see probably a large part of it that in the healthcare, whereby we actually use that type of thermal scanning for some of our bodies, like the brain and all this, to look and study about the type of like early detection of thermal or cancerous cells and all this, etc. But more importantly, right now, we actually also put that into the safety and security applications for perimeter protections as well as identifying some of the objects. Of course, with the situation right now, we also actually have a new cases where we are using that from an artificial intelligence perspective, where we use that for temperature screening in a human. Now, and we are very sure that for this technology, it definitely will be continue to stay put because of the fact that today there are also many other application wise in terms of using it to like check in terms of like your uh, washing of your hands, how is there any germs that is actually in the vicinity, and how we can actually get rid of those that is beyond the so-called the human eye vision. All right. Now, we are very sure that definitely right now, like what earlier Christopher has mentioned, the business can never operate as the same in the past, whereas we are looking at the next norm. So from a trend perspective, in fact, security solutions has been actually moving much way ahead because of the fact that today we are using the digital video for more of a computer visions, and we also in a sense that we are trying to create more application wise, like in this case we talk about how do you do social distancing, how are you going to do like tracking and tracing, and of course temperature screening is also one of them. And this is something that is driving a lot from the retail and the business, given the fact that they want to make sure that it's able to reopen safely. And of course, in the public areas or in the transportation like airports, they want to make sure that there is a minimum crowdness or minimum distancing within the group itself. And this is actually also becoming a form of a part of a smart building solutions, where we are actually seeing that there is actually an increased investment on that itself. And of course, is to also to meet the new compliance by the government. All right. But what is really more important that we need to know is, yes, thermal solutions right now is actually taking place, but there are also many type of thermal solutions in the market, which I believe many of you are probably you're getting it for yourself, for be it whether it's for home use or for your office use. But the fact is that what is the accuracy level? Because we see that a lot of this type of thermal solution or thermal handheld is available in like Q10, in Lazada, or even in some of those Alibabas, where the price range can range between like maybe $100, $150 to 250 or even $300. So where is the accuracy? So in that angle itself, nobody really knows, but they only know that if I buy this, I just use this. I know to a certain extent, I just want to get myself to feel safe that, hey, the temperature that we're taking is actually of a minimum stage where you are not having that risk of infection. So this is one of the particular area that today we want to really address in terms of accuracy and speed. All right. Then of course, threat detections in the sense that today, if you're going to operate in a typical factories where there are multiple entrance and exits, and you want to do that type of like screening fever detection station, you need to deploy probably a lot of manpower resource. And in that space, are you going to continue to maintain that resource? Because the fact that this is going to be a new norm in the new times, right? And lastly, of course, how you maintain that type of employee protection, because you see the fact is that when you are doing that type of physical temperature screening, you are actually talking about a handheld, and this handheld means you have to be near to the person, and when you're near to the person, then there's also a chance of infection, whereby because of the fact that we are supposed to maintain more than 1 meter distancing. So screening procedure becomes a norm, whereby today we need to actually do that to prevent the infection. And we are talking about, of course, it could be open public area, like in this case, the transports, the malls, or to some extent, maybe large manufacturing. But also at the same time, how are we going to address for those like restricted areas like schools, offices, and residents? All right. So today, I have this pleasure to actually share with you on what we can actually share in terms of the solutions that's already available in the market. Like for example, in this case, what we mentioned just now, today we have an open area. Now, I'm not sure does this look familiar to you, but this is actually this KLIA International Airport Terminal 2. Now, what you see here is literally we have a thermal camera with a black body, and it's actually able to do a wide area of coverage, whereby you can do screening like up to 12 people per second in based on let's say like a 3 meter type of distancing. And why is there also a higher accuracy is because the fact that if you see that there's a small little black box here, that is actually we call the black body, whereby it's actually trying to capture the temperature of the surrounding, and then from the thermal camera is taking the temperature of the person. So they try to do a form of an average out to say, hey, if I were to take away the surroundings temperature, would that temperature of the human person be something that is within the range that what you're looking at, and not seeing that this guy may have a tendency of having a feverish body or whatsoever. Now, this is for open area. Now, what if let's say today you have a restricted area, an area that you can control the lane, you can actually allows or you can control the human traffic, allows maybe like 1% at a time to come in. Then in this case, what we can do is we actually have this type of solution that we work with our eco vendors to come out a one-on-one type of a scanning, whereby this is a 1% based on a 1 to 2 meter type. Now, the accuracy similarly is also plus minus. Of course, over in this particular case, it also very much dependent on if you are deploying a black body or not. But if let's say if you are even wearing to let's say even wearing a mask, it can also do a form of a mask detection. So there's actually two functions to it. One is actually in terms of your temperature, and the other one is based on whether you're wearing a mask. Now, out it's very much dependent because it's also there's this software application layer behind that actually allows you to make the decision on what the type of application that you want to use to it. Because today, due to the sophisticated software application with AI, we can actually now allows individual system, like in this case the camera, not only detect in terms of temperature, in terms of face mask detection, but it can also do face recognition. Now, this is not something that a lot of software right now can do it. All right, but I'll share with you in more details in the later part. So as you can see, there are various applications and solutions today. And of course, we welcome all your inquiries, which we can actually take it up with SRKK, and we can actually work on a case-by-case proposal for your needs. So like in this case, we have an open area, which is very much easily deployed with a thermal camera and a tripod stand. So it's very flexible, portable in that sense. Now, if let's say in your premises, whereby you have some form of a turnstile, the system can actually also integrate with your turnstile, meaning it become a form of automation. You don't need to have someone in terms of physical security personnel or facility personnel to station at the entrance area and monitor every single one to allow them to go in or out of the premises. Whereas over here is all controlled and automated by the turnstile. All right. And of course, we can also do tracking. So in that sense, we actually expand this AI management platform into personal management, whereby basically like what I mentioned just now, the application can go to the extent of recognize the face, not just detect the face, recognize the face of the person behind the mask, even though when he's wearing it. Temperature recording means it can become like a certain form of a logbook, whereby you can actually correct record down all the so-called the temperature taken of the each individual personnel. It can also integrate with your access control, like what I shared just now, where you actually work with the turnstile. And of course, you can do a face search in the sense that if you want to do a tracking of the person, because it can do facial recognitions, you can actually combine that with the facial recognition application to do tracking and searching. Right. So this is a very a simplified solution that today we are actually recommending and sharing with you. And so basically you have the of course the cameras where you do the facial recognition and the body temperature detection, and then what you have here in the middle is the employee database, whereby you actually have already an upfront database of your staff, for example. So I assume, let's say we use this for maybe a manufacturing plant. You can have probably like 500 employees, production workers. So you probably upfront you can record their face, and then with this, all right, you can create a some of like a platform whereby you can actually take their temperature as and when they come to work, and this recording will automatically log into the system and become a log file, whereby you can use it to monitor the employees in terms of their so-called temperature throughout the day. Now, please be mindful that to some extent, sometimes a feverish reaction does not come right in the morning. It can probably in the afternoon, or it can be in the late evening after you come go so-called you leave your office. So with this, it actually give you a form of a tracking from let's say morning to work, or probably when you go out during lunchtime and you come back, and probably you leave the office. And the key feature of all this is basically there's no contact. It is like not like the typical manual whereby you are actually taking temperature through the gadgets. And best is it can identify by wearing a mask as well. So in this case, the like what I mentioned just now, you can actually recognize the face. And this is a real-time monitoring. And to a certain extent, you can actually create this access and trigger alert when there's a high temperature detected. All right. So how do we actually make sure that today we have a really so-called like the accurate body temperature measurement? Now, this is a combination of facial AI and the body temperature estimation, like what I mentioned just now, the black body. And with this, you actually not only to a certain extent you standardize the measurement points. Why? Because to the fact sometimes uh, human to human, all right, when someone want to take a certain temperature, it he may not be acting like a robot, right? So to a certain extent, he sometimes may be taking the temperature scanner like the way like he's holding a gun. He may like to do it sideways or whatsoever. So he's not being forced down to enforce that it must be taken in a particular way. But we did the automation itself with the camera. He's able to make sure that he's always taking from the right measurement point to get the right standard norms in terms of the temperature, right? And of course, not forgetting the fact that we also include the body temperature to actually add up and average out. So that actually gives a very good accuracy in terms of plus minus 0.3. Unlike your typical scanner, that actually does not give you the type of standard accuracy that you see. And of course, if you compare to the general non-contact type of thermometer and or thermography, right? Like what I share again, you need to be very close to the person for temperature test, which in this case, there's a risk of infection, especially you're not maintaining a social distancing. And I ever experienced before myself, whereby, if I was trying to go into this particular customer premises, and and the fact is that I was waiting for my colleague, which I did not want to go to the lobby. So I was waiting under the hot sun. By the time when we both actually entered the premises itself, I actually got a higher temperature versus my colleague, because I was actually affected by staying under the sun for a while. So actually that actually forms a certain of inaccuracy, and this probably may not be the best effective solution. So in terms of usage wise, it is very much depending on how the customers want to actually use it. So if you see on the left hand side, we have this whereby you can link to the individuals based on the data already collected at the employees at the management side. So in this case, it becomes like an automation system whereby it actually can have the records of the temperature taken based on the time stamping, as well as it's tied back to your name or your this so-called identification, right? And of course, that is actually based on the face recognition capabilities. On the right-hand side, it is slightly a bit more simplified, but then again, that probably needs some form of additional resources, which is like having someone to be looking at the screen to make sure that whether this person should be staying inside the premises or it should not be going inside the premises. So in this aspect, it depends really very much on the utilization and the environment that we are talking about. Okay. So just a very quick idea for you to see how exactly this is being so-called deployed. So you can see that over here we actually have this easy deployable camera that comes with a screen. Now the screen is not for you to actually look at your cosmetic, whether your hair is messy or not, but rather is to actually allow you to align a little bit to have your face within the camera itself, so that they can actually take a proper temperature. Now in this aspect, basically you can put very much easy deployed in like your elevator, your hall, entrance, or lobby. All right. And in terms of the setup, you if let's say assuming you have a multiple point, all right, that means maybe your premises has a lobby A, lobby B, or you have multiple entrance. The setup is very straightforward, whereby at the end of the day, we have a switches that is connecting the camera, and then assuming let's say you want to have someone to be able to monitor or man that particular lobby, then you probably need a client PC in this case to actually to view on the temperature that is being taken. So you don't have to really stand just beside the camera. All right, you can be of a certain slightly far away from the existing setup. Or on the other hand, if let's say if there's a turnstile, we can also integrate with the turnstile to actually make it automated. Now, if you have multiple areas like what I show here, you can actually connect all this through our switches, and from the switches, it's all go back to one central server where this AI management platform is actually being deployed there, and you have all the information that is being captured down there. Now, I also like to share with you that because of the solution right now over here, what are the areas that we can really explore is, for example, visitor management system. So you can actually segregate into two type of database. One is for visitors and the other one is for your employees. And with that, that also can make it into some of a simplified like attendance taking if you want to. You want to know like how many people, who are the people that come to work. There's a time stamping there, and that can be used as a form of attendance taking. All right. Now, just want to give you a snapshot of how the view of the screen looks like in this case. So over here, we can actually do some form of a dashboard customization. But over here, I just want to demonstrate and show it to you how does it typically look like from the system itself in terms of the dashboard. And I think with this, that's also comes to the end of my presentations.
Okay, thank you, SRKK, Dell, and the other presenters as well for having me on. It's definitely a privilege, and I will not waste your time, and I'll go straight into the 20 minutes that I have. Now, the time was 1 a.m. The date was January 1st, and the year was 2014. And I was fuming at the nursing station. I was fuming at my desk, very angry. Now, why was I angry? Because I wasn't able to spend the holidays with my family. January 1st. That's the time everybody gets to, catch up. You go home for the holidays, and you get to catch up with your family. But my leave was not not given to me. And I was fuming. I was angry. And at this time, I was a little bit of a star in my department. I was the star junior doctor there, and my consultants loved me. Right, my peers loved me. They will always ask, for my help, and I was their team leader. And the patients love me as well, right? Every day I would get people ask me if I'm available, married, because they want to introduce somebody to me. And I always knew the right things to say. I wasn't necessarily the geekiest or the most well-read of the team, but I always knew the right things to say to patients, to doctors, and to consultants as well. But today, I was not that star doctor. Today, I was angry, frustrated, and annoyed. And I'm sure many of you can relate to me in a work setting when you're just at that point where you're just so pissed with everything. This was midnight, and I was angry. And then all of a sudden, my phone rang. Sorry, not my phone, but the phone on the desk rang. And you know how it is when you pick up the phone, and it's amazing how somebody that's so angry, right? He can be screaming at one point, and he picks up the phone, and the most melodious voice would come out, right? And so this is what happened to me, and I was annoyed, I was pissed, I was frustrated. And when I picked up the phone, I said, "Hi, Dr. Sean from the active ward." And I heard the voice on the other side of the line pause for a second, as if he or she recognized who I was. And he said, in very rushed tones, "Big Bob is here in the red zone. I think you want to come." And at that moment, my heart sank to the bottom of my stomach, because I knew why Big Bob was here. He was called Big Bob because of his kid. One of the first times he walked in, he had his kid in tow, and this kid was shouting, "Papa macam Bob the Builder, but tapi gemuk, Big Bob. So let me call you Big Bob." And he would introduce himself. "Yeah, just call me Big Bob. My kid loves that name." And everybody knows when Big Bob comes for his checkup. You can never miss him. From the time his big car pulls up, because big cars, for big men have big cars, and he walks into the waiting room, and everybody knows Big Bob is here because he'll be greeting everybody. Sitting there in his chair, he'll be singing to himself. He made himself known. And you can never miss him. And Big Bob was hugely passionate about his work. His conversation was always about this guy that he helped, this team member that he was able to solve a problem for, the next big project, how much time he spent, and how much he wanted to provide the best for his manager, his boss, and his company and his family as well. But we all knew that Bob was struggling. He was struggling mentally, physically, and his health was bad. And he had no one to turn to, in a sense. And I told him so many times, "Big Bob, you need to take your lifestyle seriously. You need to make changes. You need to stop doing this, doing that. You need to follow the advice." And and I knew at this point that if he would ever come back to the hospital again when he wasn't on appointment, it would be straight into the ICU and possibly even the morgue. But Big Bob, being Big Bob, he would always laugh it off, and he would say, "Life is short, let's enjoy, doctor, don't be so serious, just enjoy life." And as I ran down the 8 flights of stairs, because the elevator doesn't work in my hospital, my heart turned into a fist that was just pounding against my chest. And you know how that feels as you approach the scene. And I know for a fact that that was my body preparing myself for what I was about to see. And I kind of have an image already forming in my head, because I watched 3 of my dearest uncles die in front of my eyes because of a stroke and a subsequent heart attack. I watched with my own eyes as their lives slipped away, never to see those smiles, to hear those voices again. And I remember as I ran down those steps, my eyes started misting up, as I could already picture the young adik that will be screaming for his dad to wake up, asking his dad to open his eyes again. The mother that has to watch her son pass away before her, and his wife who must now face the world alone. And the mist in my eyes was turning slowly into a stream down my face as I ran. And approaching the room where Bob was in, I wiped the tears off my face. And as I stepped into that room, reality was just as I imagined. Big Bob was now paralyzed. He couldn't speak. And the passion of his life, his work, his family, he wasn't able to take care of anymore. Fast forward 3 years, and I'm now a lot more senior in the team. And this time, I'm standing in line at the cafeteria for my food. And if you've ever worked in a hospital environment, food is a luxury that we don't have many times. And I earned that luxury. Why? Because I had just finished my 36-hour shift and I was out of the ward. And I was starving. I was piss tired. And for the whole 36 hours that I just passed, it went past with just Milo boxes to drink in between, and I was dying for a bite to eat, and I just wanted to jump straight home after that to sleep. And the last thing on my mind was to talk or to meet with anybody. Because, and you know what I'm talking about, those days where you just pull an all-nighter because of work, for any reason, and you just want to sleep, you just don't have any energy or any battery left or bandwidth left to speak to anybody. And you know what it's like, right? You wherever you are, you try to avoid eye contact. You try, you're just praying and wishing and hoping that nobody calls you out, and you don't want to receive any calls. You don't want to see any messages, and you leave everything on unread. And so here I was, disheveled, tired, and kind of frustrated as well, right? Just want to get home and just in a haze. And I get this generous serving of rice, right, and some dishes, and I quickly found, and you find the quietest place to sit down, and I proceeded to wolf down my food. And I finished my food in peace, thankfully. No calls, no messages, nobody recognized me. That's great. And I was just about to leave. I just stood up just about to leave, and I saw something that made me stop in my tracks. And there was this one colleague of mine, and let's just call her Alicia. And I had known her for about 8 years now at this point. And we went to the same medical school together, and we were pretty much, good friends, and we had many good mutual friends between us. That kind of friend that comes in and out of your life, but never really missing and always there. And I saw her sitting at the furthermost corner of the cafe with her breakfast. And she had run the same shift as me, although I didn't see her during the past 36 hours. And I knew that, why was she sitting in the corner? Because she probably had the same frame of mind as myself. Eat fast, get lost, and get rest, right? But something was not right. And I was thinking, that feeling when you're just in a haze and you just can't get your brain to think right, and you're thinking, what's wrong with this scene in front of me? And I realized, why was she eating so slow? And funny as it may sound right now, right? It didn't make sense to me. And funny as it may sound right now, I felt like I just had to ask her why. And so I make my way over slowly, and I sat down opposite her, and instantly you could see her jump right in her seat. And I knew something was not right. I opened my mouth, and the stupidest words I ever uttered ever in my life came out. I said, "You're eating too slow." And what happened next just blew my mind, and I wasn't expecting it. Tears started pouring down her face, and she began to talk. And what she said over the next 2 hours took all my sleepiness away. and thoughts of my bed and getting out of the cafeteria were far flung from my consciousness. You see, Alicia was eating slow because she wanted to taste her last meal. She had been so fed up with work, with life and responsibilities for many months now. And she just found out that her long-term boyfriend had cheated on her. And again, I find my eyes misting up. I couldn't help it. Why? Because in that instance, I recalled the pain. And I know how helpless it is when my friends call me on the phone and tell me they're about to end their life. And I've had that happen to me many times. And when my ex-girlfriend tried to take her own life and called me right as she downed those pills. And it's those moments, when people say these things, when your life flashes before your eyes, and you think of each moment when you could have said something different. You could have done something different. You could have said something else. And I knew personally the helplessness. And I felt these strings just grip my heart and tear them to pieces as I listened to Alicia's story in that lonely cafe. And this voice was screaming in my head, screaming, and it was saying, you were just about to walk away. I want to take you back to a week, after Big Bob was hospitalized. And I finally had some time to go see him. And I didn't tell you this at the beginning, but it was already his 5th time. And we both knew that he would not recover from this. And he reached over with his one remaining good hand as I walked into and approached his bed. And he grasped my hand and he spoke. And he spoke not with the voice that I recognized Big Bob with. Big Bob was a huge man, okay? And he has a huge voice. You could hear him from a block away. He was singing, shouting out greetings to everybody. But it was not the director, Big Bob, that was speaking to. It was not Big Bob, the leader that could waltz into a board meeting and settle everyone's problems. It was not Big Bob the builder that was fat. It was not the loudspeaker Big Bob that I know. But I heard a vulnerable voice that was breaking even. And he looked me in the eye and said, please, stay with me for a while. And it was at that moment, I realized what Bob was what was yearning for. He just wanted someone to listen to him. And when Big Bob finally left that hospital on a wheelchair, he left with papers that said that he was not he left with papers that said he was not the director Bob anymore, but it was simply plain old Bob. And what really breaks my heart was that we never saw Bob again. And what I learned, from these 2 instances is the massive responsibility that we have on our shoulders as fellow human beings and as leaders. And friends, corporates are a tough place to be in. It's cold, it's calculating, it's always dog eats dog. And your employment agreement is a business transaction, for a lack of a better way of saying it. And there may be some people here listening to me that may be fortunate enough to not be in that situation. You're in a startup or an SME, right? And you guys may have it a little easier on the politics. But really, when it comes to stress and work environments, it can be just as stressful, even before, this whole situation that we have now with the disease. What more right now? And I'm sure many of you now are seeing many similarities between an IT team and a hospital team. Because since stepping out, I've realized that you guys work just as long hours and handle just as much stress as many of us there in the healthcare setting. And so the next time you come into contact with your team members, peers, stakeholders, remember, we're all going through a struggle. I want to ask you this. When was the last time you actually got to know some of your coworkers, or maybe your junior team members, actually sat down with them and had a casual conversation, a real conversation about life, about the girl or guy they're chasing, about their fiancés, about their marriages, about their families, about their health, about their kids, about their parents? Do you know what is driving them to tears? Do you know what keeps them up at night? When was the last time you connected to them as a human? And some of you might be thinking, look, this is work, right? We come here, we do our job, and we leave. Why do I need to care? Because friends, I want to present to you right now that our society as a whole has been driven really to connect, but we have lost the connection. Let me give you a scenario here. Imagine, right, that I'm your boss and I'm walking through the office, right? I'm on my phone. And you see my phone right here, right? And you approach me and you say, hey man, I have this problem. Can I speak to you for a second? And just imagine me, right? I'm doing this, and you ask me that question, and I go, yeah, sure, go ahead, tell me, what's the problem? How do you feel? Don't you feel insignificant, like I don't care? Now imagine that, this scenario again, and this time I'm holding my phone, right? And then you come to me and say, hey, I really need help. And I put down, I stop looking at it. I look at you, but I'm still holding my phone right here. And I say, yeah, what's up? Now contrast that to if you came to me and you said, hey, I really need help with this. And I turn off my screen. I put my phone into my pocket and I say, yeah, what's wrong? How can I help? Do you see the stark difference as to how you feel speaking to me? See the difference that something small like that can make? And friends, this is really the key that drives us here with Savor of Life. With all the communities we work with, whether it's a residential community or if it's a corporate community. Because many people are sick and suffering. Because outside of their family members, people don't have anyone real to speak to. And some people don't even have family members that are really that close. And they really are all alone. And maybe this is you today. And I really would like to challenge everybody here listening. When was the last time we took some human responsibility to be there for others? To share with people the struggles that we used to go through, perhaps that would help them go through the struggles they're going through right now. Because there are meetings that we have to catch up on work. But I believe as leaders and as peers, we need to take interest in others as humans as well. And so I'll be leaving with you something to kind of kickstart that conversation. And look, if you don't receive this in the email after the call from SRKK, just reach out to me, right? My contact details are available all over the internet, and I'll send this to you as well. Be real with yourself and be real with the people around you. And really quickly, through these connections that you can make with people that are working for us and maybe even with us, you will quickly find that this world will be a less lonely and a much happier place to be in. Thank you.
Okay, so if there's nothing else, thank you everyone for joining, and you can contact us at the information here. Okay, thank you everyone. We'll end this right now.